VR is the next step of gaming. We are currently in the process of going from sitting on a couch with our controller in our hand, playing a game, to standing up with a headset on, looking into the world and being able to interact with our body and our hands. We still have a long way to go before we have something similar to Ready Player One or something of that sort. But let's just enjoy what we have right now. And with that, we have Bonelab, which is personally my favorite VR game ever, and what I would say to be the best VR game we have to date. This video is long overdue. I wanted this to come out like November, and it's January. Hi, I know I've been away for a little bit. Some stuff's going on, but it's fine. It's fine. Looks a little barren back here, but that's because we're in the process of moving. But we'll touch on that later, okay? Let's go back to Bonelab. I just want to say that the fact that they're able to put this on the Oculus Quest 2 is actually fucking crazy. Like, massive respect to Stress Level Zero for being able to port it. But to start off, I want to say that this game doesn't have an amazing story. Hell, it barely has a story. I mean, it has one. I just have zero clue what the fuck it was about or what was going on. I just had a great time playing through the game. The 14 levels we play through feel very handcrafted for the experience that they have with their advanced physics in the game. The things we can do with the surroundings as using them as weapons just adds a crazy sense of versatility to the game. And this game has some of the best, if not the best, physics in any VR game I've ever played. It's crazy how real they make it feel when you pick up a heavy item with a character that doesn't have much strength, and it's actually like super heavy, and your character's having a really hard time picking it up, and you can't pick it up. It just feels very real. We're able to move around and actually walk and not teleport, which I thank God, because the walking feels very natural in this game, and they did a great job. I'm very glad that VR games are moving away from teleporting and into walking, because I enjoyed that a lot more. We can crouch in the game, and it feels nice. And we can climb, we can move, and we can even groove, and it just all feels amazing. The graphics for the game, though, on the Oculus at least, they look good. They're passable. I mean, they do work, they look fine. But it's just limited by the technology that the Oculus have. If you look at this game on PC, it is just truly crazy to look at it. It looks spectacular, and comparing the two is like comparing night and day. Back to the levels though, and I kind of want to go through these just kind of like level by level or section by section, just so you can get a feel of what I was kind of feeling when I played through it, and what's kind of going on. The first level was just a very intro, getting to know the game, the physics, the weapons, the basics. It's just the basics. It's the first level. It's is what it is. The second level is the base hub. It's kind of setting up the base hub, showing where stuff is, and these first two levels obviously aren't going to be the most fun in the world, but it's kind of just getting you set up for what will be coming in the future and a stepping stone. In the second level though, in the base hub, you have to do some combat, and the combat in this game, you just feel like such a badass. The melee weapons are so much fun, and they give you a wide variety to pick from light weapons to heavy weapons, sharp weapons to blunt weapons. You can have a fucking samurai sword in one hand and an electric guitar in the other. There's just so many to pick from, and it just feels great to be able to smack the shit out of a nobody in the face with a crowbar. And when you smack the shit out of the nobodies in the face, they kind of ragdoll. And with the game's physics, the ragdolling of the bodies just looks great. And on top of that, we get to use more than just melee weapons. We also get guns in the game, which, oh god, are by far the most fun thing to use in this whole game. They feel extremely real with having to, put the magazine in, cock them back, and depending on the avatar you're using, the recoil with them. Just like the melee weapons, we have a wide variety of guns to pick from pistols to shotguns to SMGs and assault rifles, with all the guns having different attachments on them like scopes, flashlights, and lasers. Some of my personal favorites, and don't mind my pronunciation, it can be a little fucked up. The first one is the PT-8 Alaris, and it's just because I feel like some James Bond or John Wick type shit, with that long ass suppressor and be able to run around and just fucking you just feel like a fucking secret spy. Or the P350, because I feel like this gun just packs so much of a punch behind it that when I just fire it off, it just feels like I'm firing a fucking hand cannon. We can also slow down time and get the option to think about what we're going to do and set up some really cool shit, kind of like this. Having the physics, though, paired with the guns just makes the game feel so much better and even more realistic. Like, let's say mid-combat, you're being attacked by like 3 null bodies, right? Sitting there, damn, you run out of ammo. You're fucked. You don't have any melee weapons on you. Your fist, but I mean, depending on the avatar you're using, that's not really going to do much. And you have your empty pistol, or whatever empty weapon you're using. Why not just throw the fucking weapon at him? I mean, we can just fucking throw it at him. Or, you know what, better than that, we can just bash him over the fucking head with it. And if you have a bigger weapon like a shotgun or an SMG, just fucking smack the butt of the gun in their face with it. Also, to come along with the physics of the game, one of my favorite parts is when you're fighting an enemy and you shoot a specific body part, or like you hit a specific body part, that body part will be weakened. So let's say you shoot like an enemy in the leg. After you shoot them in the leg, they will fall down and then have a extremely hard time getting up and walking around. Or you shoot an enemy in the arm, and that arm becomes like a fucking limp noodle, and when they try to attack you, it's going to do nothing because it's just waving around like a fucking limp noodle. It's just another very small feature that adds so much immersion to the game that is just fantastic on their part. So for the 3rd, 4th, and 5th level, we are just doing some basic combat, you know, learning the game, exploring some, but after the 5th level is where the real fun begins, and I think where Bonelab truly shines. After the 5th level, we are able to switch avatars. So what that means is we can go from an average muscular dude to a giant fucking tank, or we can go to a small anime maid. And with all of them comes massive differences, like in the tank having high health and high strength, but a high weight to pair with that, which means low speed. And the maid is not going to be as strong because she's smaller, but she'll be more agile and faster. And another very small feature that they added to the game that they didn't have to, but just fucking stress level 0 is on top of it, killing it. They added it so depending on what avatar you're using and you put your hands at your stomach, your hands won't clip through your stomach, so it just adds to the immersion of whatever avatar you're in. You have the ability to switch on the fly from grabbing a little like orb on your forearm and you're pulling it back and you're able to transform into whatever avatar you choose. It's kind of like the Omnitrix in Ben 10. So basically from levels 6 to 12, you will be playing as the 6 avatars that the game basically gives you. They're all pretty basic and they really just have one main attribute behind them, like being fast or being strong, being very tall or being very short. And during one of these levels, we get to drive a go-kart. So driving vehicles is also another part of the game, and it is so very smooth. The game gives you seamless transition when you get in and driving, so you can either stand up and drive around or plop your ass on the floor and drive around, and it won't fuck with like the vision or the headset at all if you do that. Which, let me tell you, sitting down and fucking driving in VR it's crazy. And for the last 2 levels, I absolutely love them because the game lets you go fucking crazy and lets you just be able to fully switch between whatever avatar you want and just kind of, you know, go through the level and just fucking explore the avatars. But we're at the end of our 14 main levels and our story is now beaten. What is an average Bonelab player to do now? Well, let me tell you. This is where Bonelab truly shows its colors. And I think this is where people will either love Bonelab or they will hate Bonelab. You have 6 game modes to choose from. And in these 6 game modes, you will play and push the game's combat and the game's physics to its limit. We have an arena, which exactly what it sounds like. You're basically just in an arena and you're fighting a bunch of enemies. Next one is parkour, and again, it's exactly what it sounds like, you know, jumping around, doing parkour. For the third one, we have tactical trials, which is basically you have a certain amount of enemies in a section that you have to kill, and you have to do it in the quickest time possible. For the fourth one, we have our sandbox, which is, you know, sandbox. It's very experimental, you know, do it whatever you want, just fuck around. You know what a sandbox is. For our fifth game mode, we have experimental, which is hard to explain because it is very weird. Because, well, the best way I can describe it is one of the levels in it is you are basically a very small person, you know, like advertised person, and you're playing giant bowling. It's fucking crazy. And for our last thing we can do is mods, which is again exactly what it sounds like, mods for the game. Parkour is super fun, and there's one level I really love. It's like this dungeon, and like you're like having to run around and jump from platform to platform, hanging from fucking chains and like swinging above lava. It just shows how much fun parkour can be in VR. The tactical trials, they can be fun. It's not my favorite thing in the world, running around and getting kills as fast as possible. I mean, it can be fun every once in a while, but it's not my favorite thing in the world. Sandbox is very fun for setting up fun things and just doing crazy shit. So if you have some like crazy idea you want to do, you can probably do it in Sandbox, but it's not going to be a thing that I personally play all the time. Maybe you're different though. The experimental mode is so different that I really can't classify it as like one specific thing like I can for the rest of the modes. It's like just really different, and it's not going to be something you play all the time, but it will be something that it's like if you're kind of getting bored from one game mode and you want something different or something new, experimental is like the first place you come for that. Now, time for my personal favorite, which is the arena mode, because I basically get to play with all the fucking weapons as much as I want to. And depending on what arena you want to choose from, some of them can be like really big and multi-leveled, and you can use like jump pads, like get from platform to platform, or they can be like kind of like smaller arenas. And it's just really fun to have that variety. And I personally love jumping from platform to platform and shooting, like trying to fucking shoot people midair while I'm jumping. It's just a lot of fun for me, and I've spent so many fucking hours in the arena mode for this game. Now time for why Bonelab really shines, and why I personally think it's the best VR game ever. And that is the mods for the game. So obviously you're able to put mods on your PC, very obvious, but we are also able to put mods on the Oculus version of the game. And with that, we are able to have mods for avatars, weapons, vehicles, levels, and so much more. Like I said earlier, how we can change from avatar to avatar, like light, heavy, or strong, well, you can basically, in the mod settings, kind of pick from whatever avatar you really fucking want and add it into the game. Like, some of my personal favorites are the Atom Smasher from Cyberpunk 2077. He fucking talks, runs around, he just feels so strong, like a fucking tank. We can play as Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, which I'm just waiting for the Spider-Man swinging mod to come out, because when I do, it's fucking over. And lastly, the GOAT of the avatars, and if you've seen modded avatars for this game, you know who exactly I'm talking about, and that is the Iron Giant himself. It is insane how fucking massive he is, and the game gets really fucky when you bring him out, because he's just so big that the game kind of just like fucking spins you around and kind of fucks with you. But you're still able to walk around and like move with him. It's just obviously you can't use him in smaller spaces. And when I said the Atom Smasher is overpowered, the Iron Giant is like the Atom Smasher, but if you put him on steroids and multiply that by 100. This whole game is really just enjoying the experience of doing the crazy shit you can do and experiencing everything that you can do and just having a great time while doing it. It's just such a fun sandbox, and the mods for this game just add so much to it. But that type of game isn't for everybody though, and I completely get that. In my personal opinion, it's the best VR game, but it doesn't have to be to everybody. And I completely get why, if you don't like Bonelab or you think it's not that good of a game or you think it's overhyped, I completely get it. It's a very different game, but it's also very advanced for VR. So if you're newer to VR, I would say play some other games first before going to Bonelab, because it can be a lot. I'm not gonna lie to you, it can be a lot. It can make people motion sick, just fucking dizzy as hell, and it can be wild. So just be careful playing the game. Personally, I love this game so much, and I have sunk in a shit ton of hours into this game. And I had sunk in a lot in, like a shit ton in, when the game first came out and when I was going to originally get this video done. But now it's just even more hours. Personally, I just think it's the best video game to ever be released as of now. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. It is long overdue. I am very sorry for my absence for the past fucking 2-3 months. Sorry about that. Background's a little different. Some personal things happened. I am moving out, so this is the last time you will be seeing this little studio here. So say goodbye to it. I'll give you guys a second to mourn this studio. All right, time's over. I hope that you, yes, you right there, have a fucking-tastic day. And of course, guys, like always, deuces.